War. What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing.
Drawn to a war film like a wasp to a flame, I spent the past couple months checking out the most acclaimed war movies and rated and ranked my top 25 for this list. Starting with an honorable mention, we have The Battle of Algiers by Gillo Pontecorvo. This film focuses on the conflict between the French and the rebels against the colonization of the territory of Algiers. Regardless of your political affiliations, this film can most assuredly remind you of one of the major wars currently taking place today in 2024 and give you a broader picture as to the plight and motivations of those under the authority of an outside government. This film dates back to 1966, is in black and white, and is in Arabic, successfully hitting the holy trilogy of scaring my father off of ever watching it. Though he should, because this is a great movie with great practical effects, and the film maintains a level of realism that feels as though it is a documentary and not a film. I gave this film a 4.5 out of 5. And if that's not enough for you, it's the 65th highest rated narrative feature of any film on Letterboxd. At 25, I've chosen The Great Escape by John Sturges. John Sturges is thought to be an icon of action and westerns in the 50s and 60s, much the same way that Steve McQueen is thought to be the coolest man to ever live. This film brings them together along with a stacked supporting cast with the likes of James Garner, Charles Bronson, James Coburn, and more. This film looks as beautiful as ever in its Technicolor splendor and was one of the first films I watched by projector at home, and damn it, I am happy about that. This is a hangout movie, make no mistake about it, despite the fact we have Nazis as the antagonist, a factor that proves devastating in the film's finale, but is generally forgotten during the meat of the movie. The charisma of this cast makes you want to spend even more than the nearly 3-hour runtime with them and makes the ending even more dramatic. I gave this film a 4.5 out of 5. You're still here, which means you love movies, war films, or the gentle but firm nature of my voice, but you're not subscribed. Big mistake. Huge. Subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you support me and don't miss a new video. I constantly upload and am looking to do more videos on movies, anime, and books in the future that you won't want to miss. With 24, we have the second highest rated narrative feature on all of Letterboxd, Come and See by Elam Klivmov. Whether you're an anti-commie or have a copy of the Communist Manifesto signed by Karl Marx himself on the end table in your living room, we all would be remiss if we could not admit that Russians know how to make a war movie. Come and See starts as a slow burn but heats up into, ironically, a fire scene that will stick with you. From watching Tarkovsky's filmography, I was very aware of the talent of Russian directors when it came to filming house fires, albeit Tarkovsky might have flubbed one filming, but the impact of Come and See is altogether haunting, which is perhaps the best way to describe the movie. If you want to see the chaos caused by war through the eyes of a teenager and how this will forever change him, this is your movie and one I cannot recommend highly enough. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. While War is never happy, Roman Polanski follows the lead of Come and See to create a film as devastating as they come with number 23, The Pianist. The 74th highest rated narrative feature on Letterboxd pulls no punches as we explore the plight of Polish Jews during World War II. Adrien Brody's commitment to the role has long been outlined as he ditched his car and apartment in preparation for the role, learned the piano, and lost a considerable amount of weight in his Best Actor winning performance. Seeing the absolute suffering of these characters and equating that to the real life tragedy makes this a powerful and important film without doubt. I gave this film a 4.5 out of 5. At number 22, I have perhaps my most divisive pick, Black Hawk Down by Ridley Scott. The operation in and of itself never would have been in the back of my mind without this movie, a seemingly small in-scale conflict in comparison to others on this list, but what it maybe lacks in scale, Black Hawk Down makes up for in grittiness and cast. This is the best representation of modern warfare on film and is action-packed, making it an adrenaline-filled ride all the way to the finish. Not without its sad moments, this film has weight and power in a way that moved me. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. At 21, we have Patton by Franklin J. Schaffner, a filmmaker also known for Planet of the Apes and Papillon. This film is George C. Scott's career-defining performance as he crushes in a character study of a name as linked to the troops as Uncle Sam himself. All glory is fleeting. This much is true, but George C. Scott's unshaking determination to have his foot be the one in Hitler's ass is something that makes this film as special as it is. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Cracking in to the top 20 is The Bridge on the River Kwai by David Lean. David Lean is no stranger to creating a timeless classic with films like Lawrence of Arabia, Brief Encounter, and Dr. Zhivago under his belt. But this film is special to me. This film is special because it perfectly builds to a crescendo in its final moments where action and theme hits highs that few films could ever reach. The film is spectacular in its stunts and cinematography, but its themes, that being, what is the job of a soldier? What are the rules of war? And what real impact can one man make, both in war and life, hit harder than I thought even possible, even halfway through this film. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. At 19, we have Barry Lyndon by the giant of cinema himself, Stanley Kubrick. In maybe his prettiest film of all time, Kubrick tells the story of Barry Lyndon. Who'd have thought? An Irish rogue who uses every opportunity to climb the social ladder during the 18th century. This includes joining the British Army, then the Prussian Army, and marrying into the Lyndon royal line. As much as we love A Tale of Ascendance, we love to see those in high places fall. And oh boy, do we get that in this wonderful film. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. For number 18, You Want the Truth, but maybe you can't handle the truth. This award, of course, goes to Rob Reiner's A Few Good Men. This movie really lives and breathes with the iconic performance of Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise, which feel like both men putting on prime performances. I could continue my stuttering, but if two all-time greats putting on a masterclass doesn't sell you, I don't know what will. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. Coming in at 17, we have The Deer Hunter by Michael Cimino, a film so good it gave its director free range to destroy United Artists as it once stood and reform Hollywood for the next 2 decades. And when I say this, I'm of course talking about his big failure in Heaven's Gate and how that ultimately did the things they just accused it of doing. Robert De Niro and Christopher Walken put on 2 commanding and top performances among a cast of Meryl Streep, the best actress of her generation, and John Cazale, a man literally allergic to taking roles in films that are not masterpieces. If an alien were to come down and say, hey, I want to figure out what PTSD is like whilst learning about the brutality of Vietnam, I'd ask him how he knew about Vietnam and not PTSD and give him a copy of this film. This is brutal, gritty, and moving, and a 4.5 out of 5 in my rating. 16 is Terrence Malick's The Thin Red Line. Funnily enough, The Thin Red Line nearly has something in common with The Pianist, as Adrian Brody was all set to watch himself be the lead of this film at the movie's premiere. After a third of the movie, he had realized that Malick, one known to tinker in the editing room, had completely changed the film's narrative in the cutting room floor. Despite this dismissal of Brody, we have a cast that is absolutely star-studded. A hallmark of Malick movies, as well as a story that asks the age-old question.
War, what is it good for?
War, what is it good for?
Absolutely nothing.
For a more in-depth analysis, check out my analysis with Matt on my channel, but rest assured, this is one to keep in mind. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. One of the journeys this video took me on was watching the Human Condition trilogy by Masaki Kobayashi, where number 15 lands us at the second movie in this trilogy, Road to Eternity. While part 1 was great, part 2 finally shows us our main character, played by the amazing Tatsuya Nakade, being in the army, a fate given to him at the end of part 1. In this film, we are shown how the code of honor is taken to an absolute extreme in Japanese forces during World War II, giving us a perspective of the war I haven't seen much of. The entire trilogy is tremendous, but I adore part 2 and gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Much like Kobayashi's Human Condition trilogy, Incendies by Denis Villeneuve gives a fresh perspective on war because it bases itself out of the warfare in the Middle East for number 14. Two children go on looking for their father and brother in a twisted story that shocked even me. I don't want to give too much away, but the reveals and the story of the mother is something unlike anything I'd seen, and would encourage you to watch it as it's amazing. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. For those of you who think that fantasy movies are for nerds, I'd warn you that Lord of the Rings nerds have swords. Up next, I have number 13 as Lord of the Ring, The Return of the King by Peter Jackson. The characters we've come to love at this point in the story are here for the big showdown, and this movie does not disappoint as the battle at hand feels grand in nature. I can't recommend it highly enough. 4.5 out of 5. Coming in at 12, I have Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds. Who would expect a movie so egregiously misspelled to be so great? Well, those who know it's linked to QT, of course. Christopher Waltz plays one of the greatest villains of our time in this splendid film with iconic Tarantino violence throughout. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. For 11 and 10, I have The Fellowship of the Ring and The Two Towers, respectively. What Peter Jackson and the original novel writer / author J.R.R. Tolkien does with these characters is amazing. Nearly every character becomes one with whom you grow an attachment to, and these films have iconic moments after iconic moments. I could tell you of my love of Gandalf and Aragorn, the epicness of the fight against the Balrog, or the Battle of Helm's Deep, but you've likely heard those tales 1,000 times over. Needless to say, both films receive a 4.5 out of 5. Now into the top 10, and the last time you will have heard 4.5 out of 5, we have another part of a trilogy, the Human Condition trilogy. This time, number 3, A Soldier's Prayer by Masaki Kobayashi. At number 9, this is a film, I should say, at number 9, that brings the tremendous trilogy to a fitting conclusion. From this point, we start off with Tatsuya Nakade's character off the heels of a major battle, and then fighting his way back to his beloved wife. This long and weary trek brings us to the brink of Nakade's suffering on this voyage back. I fell in love with this film and recommend the entire trilogy. I give this film and the remainder of the films on this list a 5 out of 5. Coming in at number 8, we have a film from my favorite Japanese director, Akira Kurosawa, with Ran. All I can say is that the battle scenes alone make this one of the best war films of all time. Learning from Sergei Eisenstein, Kurosawa learned how to film movement and make for excellent shots, much like the infamous, or I guess just famous, staircase scene in Battleship Potemkin. This movie is the fruition of that studying, as the battle leaves you in awe of what you're witnessing the entire run. At number 7, we have Lawrence of Arabia by David Lean, who is making his second appearance on the list. I've unfortunately not had the pleasure of watching much of David Lean's work until recently, with Lawrence of Arabia being the most recent film on this list. While better late than never, never late is better, but I'm so happy to have done this list and by proxy watch 2 of his all-time greats, with Lawrence of Arabia being an absolute joy. The Technicolor absolutely pops off the screen, making this a beautiful film. The music was filling my headset and felt much like the Star Wars music, but fitting for this movie. And this, of course, was laid down by the extraordinary London Philharmonic Orchestra. When you tie all this into the inspired and unmatched performance of Peter O'Toole as the title character, you get nothing short of mastery. I do not often recommend nearly 4-hour-long movies, but this is one that is absolutely worth the time investment. It wouldn't be a war film list without Steven Spielberg. As for number 6, we have Saving Private Ryan. Yes, the storming of Normandy is cinematic gold that can forever live on in our hearts, but there's a lot more to this film. Tom Hanks' character is so well fleshed out, but so too is the message. What is the value of life on a battlefield? We see men torn to bits by automatic rounds, but then we have a group putting their skin on the line to save one man, which puts everything in perspective as to the cost, or human cost, of war. Would you be surprised to see a double Spielberg feature for 6 and now 5? I wouldn't, because I made the list. At 5, we have Schindler's List, much different than the list I'm going over now, as Schindler's List was a list of Jews he worked hard to save from Nazi death camps. Much like The Pianist, the film solidly holds still on the horrors that take place within the Nazi regime to the Jewish race. The film differs in that it is a redemptive tale for Oskar Schindler as he learns the value of human life, whereas once he was only concerned with nickels and dimes. Ralph Fiennes plays a wonderful antagonist as well, a role he has shown extraordinary talent for in Red Dragon and the Harry Potter series, but as this came out first, it is the proof positive that he could pull off evil. Coming in at 4, we have Akira Kurosawa making his second appearance with Kagemusha. Kagemusha is beautiful with its rich color making. It is a film that can be admired as it is viewed. The story itself is thought to be strongly influenced by Shakespeare. And while I hated reading Shakespeare in high school, it is rarely a bad thing if it is used as inspiration. And also, I have no support to back that claim. In this film, a thief is recruited to impersonate an aging warlord in case of his death. The film comes to a head when he is thrust into power and made to lead his troops against a rival warlord. This is one of the films, along with Ran, that made me decide, I think I really like this Kurosawa guy. And if you're looking for a recommendation, I think this might just be the one to start with. Busting our way into the top 3, we have Stanley Kubrick coming in once more with Full Metal Jacket. I've talked ad nauseum about my love for this film, and for good reason. The first half is absolute cinematic magic. The men going through boot camp and the ultimate climax of all that build-up is lightning caught in a bottle. Don't sell the second half short, however, as after a few watch-throughs, I've come to appreciate the second half and ending more and more. It plays well off of what we learn from the first half and leaves us to interpret the social commentary of how Private Joker acts in the final moments. I think Kubrick's cutting commentary about war, where Americans were drafted, is very on the mark, and again, it's an absolute pleasure to watch and rewatch. Coming in at number 2 is Akira Kurosawa's third and final appearance with Seven Samurai. I'm beating a dead horse, but think of how much I've built this man up so far when I say what I'm about to say. Not only is this the best samurai movie I've ever seen, but this is Kurosawa's magnum opus. The character development is amazingly done, as Toshiro Mifune steals the show and the battle sequences are spectacularly done. Kurosawa again utilizes the techniques learned from studying Eisenstein to make some incredible battle scenes that excite nearly 70 years after the film's release. Not only does this film hold up, it blows 99% of films I've seen out of the water. The moment you've all been waiting for. If you know war movies, you may be able to surmise the last heavy hitter left off the list. Or maybe this movie hasn't occurred to you yet. Either way, I'd like you to tell me your favorite war movie down below. Without further ado, coming in at number 1, we have Apocalypse Now by Francis Ford Coppola. This film paints a picture that would look like kindergarten doodles in the hands of a less talented team. Because Coppola, Brando, Sheen, and company were at the helm, we get the magic that is Apocalypse Now. The journey into the jungle and Brando's eventual ravings show what can only be described as the madness that is war. And in a mad, mad world, insanity is king. Sheen has seen some shit, but in what feels like a Vietnam-inspired retelling of Dante's Inferno, he journeys deep into the bowels of the jungle to find Brando, a man who's seen too much, but also a man who feels he has seen the true path to victory. Not only are the visuals, dialogue, stunts, and cast magical, but so too are the themes and messaging of this movie. I don't know if I'll ever get the privilege of seeing a better war movie, but until then, I'll just be happy I've seen this. How'd you like the list? Agree? Disagree? Let me know your thoughts, but first, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for your time, and I'll catch you on the Flippity Floop. Bye, y'all. So you're still here. And look, you're probably upset. Maybe you have a favorite war film, one you grew up with, one that you very much respect. And that upsets you that I didn't have it even on my list. Well, look, down in the pinned comment below, you can see my Letterboxd list that I based this off of. It includes the top 25 as well as other films, making up, I believe at this point, around 60 films of war films that I have watched and rated and appreciated. So, with your suggestions, I would like to make a part 2. For as crazy as that is, even The World's War had a sequel. So why shouldn't this? So, please, I encourage you, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment the movie you think I need to check out for a part 2 to this list. I very much appreciate all of your support. And without further ado, finally, I will catch you on the Flippity Floop. Bye, y'all.